Welcome back. With the British Prime Minister should have been taking a victory lap over the UK's successful vaccine rollout. Instead, Boris Johnson is engulfed in a growing political crisis. Grilled a short time ago in Parliament over who actually paid for refurbishing his Downing Street home. The issue has sparked a formal investigation by Britain's political spending watchdog. The UK's Electoral Commission says there are, quote, reasonable grounds to suspect that an offence or offences may have occurred. Take a listen to Boris Johnson earlier in Parliament against the leader of the opposition.
Can the Prime Minister tell the House, does he believe that any rules or laws have been broken in relation to the refurbishment of the Prime Minister's flat?
Prime Minister.
No, I don't, Mr. Speaker. What I believe has been strained to breaking point is the credulity of the public. He has half an hour every week to put serious and sensible questions to me about the state of the pandemic, about the vaccine rollout, about what we're doing to support our NHS, about what we're doing to fight crime, about what we're doing to bounce back from this pandemic, about the economic recovery, about jobs for the people of this country. And he goes on and on, Mr. Speaker, about wallpaper when, as I've told him umpteen times now, I paid for it.
Well, the chief political commentator of the Times Radio, Tom Newton-Dunn, has been tweeting about the Prime Minister, quoting, of all the different messes swirling around Boris Johnson tonight, ministers seem most worried about the Downing Street flat refurb. Some worry that Boris Johnson may have a tax problem on his hands over it. Well, Tom Newton-Dunn joins me now from London. Tom, good to have you with us. So, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, normally quite a charismatic, jovial type character, clearly looking very rattled today.
He really was rattled. He adopted an air of righteous indignation, I think you might have just seen there in PMQ. So he was outraged that the leader of the opposition could be levelling these accusations of corruption, basically, at him, and made it pretty clear he thought the Electoral Commission's investigation is going to go nowhere. But it's serious, very serious. The Electoral Commission is a legal body. It can prosecute the Prime Minister or his officials, the Conservative Party senior members, for effectively not declaring a donation, which the Prime Minister, we now know, received to do up his flat. He lives above the shop, as they say over here. He lives above the shop in Downing Street. There's a nice flat. He didn't like Theresa May's decoration, or certainly his fiancée, Carrie Simons, didn't, so they spent £58,000 on it. This £58,000 was given by a donor. It looks like that wasn't particularly the right thing to do. It certainly caused a bit of a stink. So the Prime Minister hurriedly repaid the £58,000 himself at the end of last week. And that now the Electoral Commission is looking into, because they think the law might have been broken somewhere, probably on the fact that this donation from a donor wasn't declared.
And all along, as this story has unfolded, we've heard Boris Johnson deny all of this and say he took out a personal loan. If he has nothing to hide, why didn't he get out on the front foot from the get-go?
And there indeed is the question, and that is why we're, what is it now, something like 2 weeks into this. It's a slow burn, this one. Pressure's been building sort of day by day as more has come out on this. And effectively, you know, you could say with all the things going on in the world, in India, the pandemic, the rollout of the vaccine here, while we were talking about this, I think it's because Number 10 have found it really difficult to explain what exactly happened here. And also there's the element of his girlfriend, his fiancée, Carrie Simons. Now, she's reported as saying that she couldn't possibly live amongst Theresa May, Boris Johnson's predecessor Prime Minister, amongst all her furniture and decoration, because it was a John Lewis nightmare. John Lewis is a store we have over here. It's not Primark. It's a bit better than Primark, maybe, but it's not Bloomingdale's, maybe. So there's concern over there's a bit of snobbishness going on over here, and it's the sort of thing that's fueled the whole row. The fact that Downing Street has been so quiet about this has led us all to suspect that there was some wrongdoing here. Whatever scheme they had devised to get some money off a rich donor to pay for some new curtains and cushions wasn't strictly by the rules, may not have been quite legal. Hence why there's been a bit of a reverse ferret, as we might call it, and the Prime Minister's picked up the bill himself. But because Number 10 need to iron out all the creases themselves first, they haven't been able to tell us what's been going on. I think they were blindsided this morning. Didn't expect the Electoral Commission to pop up and say, well, actually, we're going to take over this investigation now, and we're going to get to the bottom of who has done wrong, if there is wrongdoing here, and if someone's broken the law.
And the Electoral Commission says it believes there are reasonable grounds to suspect an offence or offences, which they are now investigating. How could this play out for the Prime Minister? What is the track record for prosecution on something like this?
Well, these sort of things happen reasonably often, I suppose, here, but it's usually on quite a minor scale. The Electoral Commission basically police donations. They police democracy, really. They police elections running smoothly, but their big concern is donations to political parties, making sure those donations are transparent, because you can't have donors giving to the party, so the rules are over here, without everyone knowing who's given money, so they know that the politicians who are receiving all this money for whatever different reasons, campaigning, doing up the flat, whatever I might be, they're not therefore ad hoc to the donor, not giving the donor special favours. And we can all see what those decisions are and why they might be making them. That's why it's quite a big deal. Now, potentially, if the Prime Minister is found that he should have declared this donation, and indeed the law was broken, then it's quite serious. He could be fined up to £20,000. The police could even step in and launch a criminal investigation. I suspect that's quite unlikely. But whatever happens, it's an embarrassment. If he's found to have committed wrong, it's a very big embarrassment. But you have to also put this in the context of Boris Johnson. He's not any normal politician. He does seem to be able to not abide by the normal rules. He's made a career out of doing that. There's an element of Donald Trump in there, I suppose, but there's also quite an element of charm. And the British public like Boris Johnson. They voted for him in quite large numbers, especially in the sort of the blue-collar working class, or as you might say, middle-class seats at the last election. And they don't mind the fact he's got quite a checkered history. They don't mind the fact necessarily that he doesn't fly by the book too often. And they like that sort of charm and colour, the rogue element to it, if you like. What I suspect they won't like is allegations of corruption, allegations of breaking the law, and potentially tax dodging as well. That is a possibility, although it's not looking like it's been proved yet, because if the Prime Minister did receive this donation as what's known as a benefit in kind, he'd have to pay some tax on it, and we don't know whether that tax has been paid. So it could get a fair bit worse for the Prime Minister, or he could get away with it again.
Just quickly, to follow on from that, Boris Johnson has been touting his success in the vaccination rollout. Will that be enough for the public to overlook all of this going on?
So far, it seems to be so, because this story's been rumbling on a bit now. We've obviously just had the Electoral Commission investigation news this morning, but the polls haven't really changed. We've got some big local elections coming up next week, council seats, mayoralties, and the polls really haven't moved. He's still got something like a 10-point lead over Labour, same lead he had when he got elected in December 2019, and that returned with a vengeance. He was in trouble last year, and Labour overtook him. But with the vaccine rollout, which has been going spectacularly well here, has to be said, even better than in the United States, he's very popular, and people are getting their freedoms back. They're enjoying life again. They're not really engaging with politics, seems to be the feeling a lot of MPs are having out there campaigning on the doorsteps.
Tom Newton-Dunn, good to get your perspective, our chief political commentator from Times Radio. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We are going to take a quick break. You're watching Connect the World. Stay with us.